Of the revolt of 1857. Okay, so in this lesson we will study about the beginning and spread of the revolt of 1857, then the centers of revolt, causes of failure of the revolt, then impact of the revolt, the nature of the revolt, and leaders of the revolt. So let's start with the beginning and spread of the revolt of 1857. So the greased cartridges provided this revolt. Okay, the spark, the spark was provided by the greased cartridges. So in what was that? So in 1856, the government decided to replace the old-fashioned muskets by the Enfield rifle. So earlier the soldiers were using the muskets, but government took a decision in 1856 to replace these old muskets with the Enfield rifles. So in order to load the Enfield rifle, the greased wrapping paper of the cartridge had to be bitten off by the soldier. So in January 1857, a rumor began to spread in Bengal regiments that the greased cartridges contained the fat of cows and pigs. So here you can see this is the cartridge and it has a wrapping. So before loading the rifle, for loading the rifle you have to bit off this wrapping using your mouth, so using your teeth. So here you can see using the teeth the soldier had to bit off that wrapping and then pour that gunpowder into the barrel. Then after this pouring the gunpowder, then he can fire the Enfield rifle. So this wrapping, it was a rumor or maybe this was a truth, we don't know, but this thing, this wrapping was made of using the fat of cows and pigs. So cow was holy for Hindus and pig was prohibited for the Muslims. So both of the animals were not, the meat was or the fat, the skin was not allowed to Hindus as well as Muslims, neither the cow nor the pigs. So the sepoys became convinced that the introduction of the greased cartridge was a deliberate attempt to defile their religion. So the cow was sacred to the Hindus and the pig was a taboo for the Muslims. Okay, so this cartridges provided a fresh material for their anger, and on March 29, 1857, the Indian soldiers at Barakpur refused to use the greased cartridges, and one sepoy, Mangal Pandey, attacked and killed a British officer. So here is the great Mangal Pandey who killed his officer, and he said that he will not use that cartridges. So at Meerut in May 1857, the sepoys of the 3rd Cavalry Regiment at Meerut also refused to use the greased cartridges and broke out in open rebellion on 10th May and shot their officer and headed towards Delhi. And General Hewitt was then the commanding officer at Meerut. So remember this thing, General Hewitt was the commanding officer at Meerut. So on May 12, 1857, the rebels seized Delhi and overcame Lieutenant Willoughby, the in charge of the magazine at Delhi. So Lieutenant Willoughby was the in charge of the magazine at Delhi, and rebels reached Delhi. They marched from Meerut and reached Delhi. So Bahadur Shah II was proclaimed the Emperor of India. And this rebel went to Delhi under the leadership of Bakht Khan. So remember this name. Bakht Khan took this rebels to Delhi. To Delhi. So he took leadership and went to Delhi. He took along with him all the rebels. So very soon the rebellion spread throughout northern and central India at Lucknow, Allahabad, Kanpur, Bareilly, Banaras, Jhansi, parts of Bihar and other places. So now the rebellion started to spread all over India, mainly in the north and central India. So unfortunately, a majority of Indian rulers remained loyal to the British, and the educated Indians and merchant class kept themselves aloof from the rebels. Now this is very important. You should remember this thing. Okay, remember this thing, that majority of Indian rulers remained loyal. Majority of Indian rulers remained loyal to the British, and educated Indians and merchant class kept themselves aloof from the rebels. So this is very important. Last time there was a question in a UPSC exam on this. So remember this thing, who did not participate into the revolt of 1857. So in the majority of the Indian rulers, the educated Indians and merchant class kept themselves aloof from the rebels. So India and south of the Narmada remained undisturbed. Okay, the south in India, mainly the South India, the south of Narmada remained undisturbed. At Lucknow, Henry Lawrence, the British resident who was ousted and killed. Okay, so Henry Lawrence at Lucknow, he was ousted and killed by the rebels. So here is the siege of Lucknow, where the rebels came, the mutineers came and they killed Henry Lawrence. He was a British resident at Lucknow. So the Kanpur was lost by the British on 5th June 1857, and Nana Sahib was proclaimed the Peshwa. Nana Sahib was a son of Bajirao II, who was living there, and he was denied the pension. So Nana Sahib participated into the revolt of 1857, and he was declared as Peshwa. So General Hugh Wheeler surrendered on June 27, and Rani Lakshmibai, the widow of late Gangadhar Rao, was proclaimed the ruler of the state after the troops at Jhansi mutinied in June 1857. So in Bihar, a local zamindar Kuwar Singh of Jagdishpur revolted. Okay, so the revolt started to spread all over India, and a lot of mutineers started to participate into the revolt. So what are the centers of the revolt? So in Delhi, a rebellion was led by Bakht Khan. So we have seen that the Bakht Khan, he took the leadership of the revolters, and he took all the revolters to Delhi. So a rebellion was led by Bakht Khan in September 1857, and Delhi was recaptured by English, in which John Nicholson and the commander was wounded and later died. So John Nicholson, the commander, was wounded in this battle and he died. So initially Bakht Khan was fighting in Delhi against the English, but later on Delhi was recaptured by the English, in which John Nicholson died. The emperor was arrested, and his two sons and grandsons were publicly shot by Lieutenant Hudson himself. So when this Bakht Khan, he went to Delhi along with the revolters, he declared the Mughal emperor, that is Bahadur Shah Zafar. Bahadur Shah. he declared Bahadur Shah Zafar as the Mughal emperor. But later on, when Delhi was reoccupied or recaptured, the Mughal emperor was arrested and his two sons and grandsons were publicly shot by Lieutenant Hudson himself. Okay, so here's the image of Bakht Khan. Then in Kanpur, Nana Sahib was the leader at Kanpur, and General Hugh Wheeler surrendered on June 27. Nana Sahib was joined by Tatya Tope, and Sir Campbell occupied Kanpur on December 6th, and Tatya Tope escaped and joined Rani of Jhansi. Okay, so Nana Sahib was the leader at Kanpur. Then at Lucknow, rebellion here was led by Begum Hazrat Mahal and Ahmadullah. And Henry Lawrence and other Europeans at the British Residency were killed by the rebels. The early attempts of Havelock and Outram to recover Lucknow met with no success, and it was finally rescued by Colin Campbell in March 1858. So remember this, Lucknow, here the leader was mainly Begum Hazrat Mahal. At Jhansi, Rani Lakshmibai led the revolt, who was defeated by Hugh Rose. She fled to Gwalior and captured it, and she was supported by Tatya Tope. And Gwalior was recaptured by English in June 1858, and the Rani of Jhansi died on 17th June fighting. Okay, so Tatya Tope escaped southward in April. One of Scindia's feudatory captured him and handed to the English, who hanged him. So Tatya Tope was also hanged. Here is the image of Rani Lakshmibai, who was the leader at Jhansi. Then at Bareilly, Khan Bahadur Khan proclaimed himself the Nawab Nazim of Bareilly. However, the rebellion was crushed by Colin Campbell in May 1858 and Bareilly was recaptured. So Khan Bahadur Khan at Bareilly. Remember the center of the revolt and the leader. Okay, this is very important from our exam point of view. A question may be in the form of match the pairs. Okay, then Faizabad, Maulavi Ahmadullah was the leader at Faizabad and led the rebellion but was defeated by the English. Then at Allahabad and Banaras, the rebellion at Banaras and adjoining areas was mercilessly suppressed by Colonel Need, who put to death all rebels, suspected and even disorderly boys. So the revolt of 1857. So what were the causes of failure of the revolt? So initially the revolters they were gaining quite success and they were fighting well, but this revolt failed. So what were the reasons behind the failure of the revolt of 1857? So the revolt of 1857 was poorly organized. There was not proper organization of this revolt and restricted in its scope, and there was lack of unity among the rebel leaders. So this was one reason for the failure of the revolt of 1857. So there was no impact of the rebellion in the south. Even in the North India, Rajasthan, Punjab, Sindh and the Scindia dominion of Gwalior, etc. remained quiet. So lot of the Indian ruler, they did not take participation in the revolt. So that's why there was no great participation from the Indian rulers in the revolt of 1857. So first is the poorly organized, and secondly the impact was less. Lot of rulers stayed aloof from the revolt of 1857. Then the leaders of the rebellion did not have any common ideals and were wrapped up in their own individual grievances. So some rulers, they were participating in the revolt because they were denied the pension, and some some rulers were participating in the revolt because they were denied the kingdom, or due to the doctrine of lapse, they were not allowed to make their son as the uh, adopted son as their king. So the rulers which participate, the Indian rulers which participated into the revolt of 1857, they did not had any common idea or any common goal. They had their different ideas and different agendas. So that's why this was also one of the main reason why the revolt of 1857 failed. The only common bond of unity among them was their anti-British sympathies. But mere anti-British sympathies will not work. You should have some common goal or common agenda or unity. Then only a revolt, a great revolt, would have been successful. But this leaders and all, they lacked in this common unity, common goal, and common agenda. So the resources of the British Empire were far superior to those of the rebels, who were poorly organized and lacked resources. So we see that Britishers had resources for communication, so they could communicate properly. They had good resources, but the rebels, they did not had that much of resources. That's why they lacked in resources, and this was also one of the reason for their defeat. So the Indian princes such as Scindia, the Nizam of Hyderabad, the Gaikwad of Vadodara, the princess of Rajasthan remained loyal to the British, and educated Indians were repelled by the rebels due to their appeals to the superstitions and their opposition to progressive social measures, and were mistaken to take Britishers as their helpers in accomplishing the task of modernization. So the educated Indian wanted to modernize India, and they saw that if Britishers will stay in India, they will help in modernizing India. So this revolt was not supported by the educated Indians. So this is also one important reason, that it lacked the support of educated Indians, and this is also one of the reason for the failure of the revolt of 1857. Then the control of Indian administration was transferred from English East India Company to the Crown by the Government of India Act 1858. So this was one of the main impact of the revolt. Though the revolters of 1857, they failed in overthrowing the English rule, but the impact which it made was considerable. So the Government of India Act 1858, so what did this Government of India Act 1858 do? It transferred the power from English East India Company to the British Crown. So now the power of English East, so the power of India was directly went to the British Queen, that is the Crown, and it ended the era of annexation and expansion. And the Queen's proclamation declared against any desire for extension of territorial possessions, and promised to respect the rights of dignity and honor of native princes as their own. So, in this way, by the Queen's proclamation, it ended the era of annexation and extension of territorial possessions, and promised to respect the rights of dignity and honor of native princes as their own. So, this was done by the Queen's proclamation. So, princes also got the right to keep their kingdom, but under the British rule. So they accepted the dominance of British rule in India, and the Queen's proclamation guaranteed the Indian princes that they will be treated properly. So the Act of 1858 ended the dualism in the control of Indian affairs, and made the Crown directly responsible for management of Indian affairs. This was very important, because now all the powers went directly to the British Crown. So following this, fundamental changes in the administrative setup were made in the executive, legislative and judicial administration of India by passing the Indian Councils Act of 1861, the Indian High Court Act of 1861, and the Indian Civil Service Act of 1861. So these three acts were passed in 1861, and these were for the modernization or for the for the changing the administrative setup in India. So the British policies towards Indian states changed radically, and the states were now treated as the bulwark of the empire against future contingencies. So now the attitude of the British towards the Indian states also changed, and the states were now treated as the bulwark of the empire against future contingencies. Okay, so the Indian army was thoroughly reorganized, and the number of European troops in India was increased, because at that time when the revolt of 1857 took place, that time the number of European soldiers was quite less, and the number of Indian soldiers was high in the English army. But now after the revolt of 1857, the number of European troops increased in India, and all the superior posts in the armed forces were reserved for the Europeans. Okay, so the policy of associating Indian members with legislative matters and administration was started. A humble beginning in this direction was made by the Indian Councils Act of 1861. So by this Act of Indian Council Act of 1861, the policy of associating Indian members with legislative matters and administration. Now Indians got the opportunity to take part in the legislative matters by the Act of Indian Councils Act of 1861. So the revolt left a legacy of racial bitterness. So after the revolt of 1857, there was racial bitterness between the Europeans and the Indians, and the entire Indian people were dubbed as unworthy of trust and subjugated to insults, humiliations, and contemptuous treatment. Because a lot of Indians participated in the revolt of 1857, the Europeans or the Britishers started to think that Indians are not trustworthy, and they started to insult Indians and started to humiliate Indians. So the era of territorial expansion gave place to the era of economic exploitation in a more subtle way. Now the territorial expansion, in place of territorial expansion, they started the policy of economic exploitation in a more subtle way, which was not recognized by Indian because it was not visible. So the policy of divide and rule between Hindus and Muslims was started after the revolt of 1857, because in the revolt of 1857 we see that there was unity between Hindus and Muslims. But after the revolt of 1857, divide and rule policy was adopted by the Britishers. So the attitude of the British towards social reforms, contrary to what it was before 1857, they now sided with orthodox opinion and stopped encouraging social reformers. Okay. So the social reforms got stalled because Britishers came to know that if we interfere into the social matters or the religious matters of Indian, they will face resistance. So that's why they stopped taking participation in the social reforms. So what was the nature of the revolt? So historians are of different opinions regarding the nature of revolt of 1857. So British historians interpreted the revolt as a mutiny of the sepoys. So British historians say that this was not a revolt, but it was just a mutiny of the sepoys, and ignoring the grievances of the local people and their participation in the movement, the British historians felt that the rebellion was engineered by the sepoys and some landholders and princes having vested interests. So they say that there was not a large scale participation of common people in the revolt, but this was just a mutiny by the sepoys supported by some landholders and some princes. Okay, the recent researches on 1857, however, argue that self-interested motives did not have much significance before the combined opposition to the unpopular British regime. That means that the recent researches which had been done on the revolt of 1857, they show that the self-interested motives did not have much significance, but there was a sense of anger against the revolt of anger against the British, and a lot of common participation was also there from the common people, and it was not just a mutiny by the sepoy which was supported by landholders or princes, but it was a widespread revolt in which uh, common people also participated. So this is a recent research on a revolt of 1857. That's why many of the Indian historians or many of the Indian leaders have called the revolt of 1857 as the first war of independence. Okay, so VD Savarkar, we have discussed it earlier. VD Savarkar, he called the revolt of 1857 as first first war of independence. Okay, VD Savarkar called first war of independence to the revolt of 1857. So here is the list of the leaders of the revolt. So Ahmadullah, an advisor of the ex-king of Awadh, he was the leader at Faizabad. Then Nana Sahib was at Kanpur. Rani of Jhansi at Jhansi, that is Rani Lakshmi Bai. She was the leader at Jhansi. Then Kuwar Singh, he was the leader at Jagdishpur, that is in Bihar. Then Mangal Pandey, he was at Barakpur. Then Begum Hazrat Mahal, she was at Lucknow. And Tatya Tope, he was at Gwalior. So these are some leaders of revolt and the centers. Okay, so try to remember this thing. This may be a question in exam for the match the pairs. Okay, so this may be a question in the match the pairs. So that's all for the revolt of 1857. So in our next lesson, we will see after the revolt of 1857, there was a rise of national consciousness. So in our next lesson, we will study about that.